Just days after marrying Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce found himself at the center of fresh retirement speculation. Then Chiefs owner Clark Hunt stepped in with an announcement that caught fans by surprise and changed the conversation about Kelce's future. Here's what he said and why it matters. Let's get right into it. Travis Kelce heads into the summer of 2026 as a married man, and the first person from the Chiefs organization to speak publicly about what that means for his football career is the guy at the very top, owner and chairman Clark Hunt. And what Hunt said didn't sound like a farewell speech. It sounded like a recruiting pitch, appearing on NFL Network's Good Morning Football. Hunt was asked point blank about Kelce's plans, and he didn't hedge. Chiefs team owner Clark Hunt announced that the Chiefs do indeed want Kelce back next season, saying, "As an organization, we certainly hope that he will come back." That's not a throwaway line from a PR handler. That's the owner of the franchise on national TV, telling the world he wants his tight end suiting up again. He didn't stop there either. Hunt went further, breaking down exactly why he still believes in Kelce as a player, not just as a brand. He said Kelce had another great year, maybe not on par with where he was 4 or 5 years ago, but still had over 800 yards and was really one of the leaders on the offensive side of the ball, adding there's no doubt in his mind that Kelce can still play. Think about that phrasing for a second. No doubt in my mind. That's about as strong an endorsement as an owner can give a 36-year-old tight end who just got engaged to the biggest pop star on the planet. And here's where it gets interesting, because Hunt actually acknowledged the wedding directly. He wasn't dodging the Taylor Swift of it all. He leaned into it. Hunt explained that Kelce has sort of a busy offseason coming up with his engagement and marriage, so we want to be respectful and give him the time he needs to make a decision. An NFL owner on air, factoring a wedding to a global superstar into his roster planning. That's not something that happens every day in this league. Now, Hunt wasn't the only person inside the Chiefs building with something to say. Once his comments hit social media, the reactions started stacking up fast, and they weren't all coming from strangers on the internet. Tavia Hunt, Clark Hunt's wife, had her own moment when word started spreading that Kelce was leaning toward a return. She posted a photo of Kelce alongside Patrick Mahomes to her Instagram story and kept the message short and loud, writing, "Let's go," referencing their respective jersey numbers. That's the Chiefs ownership family, publicly celebrating the idea of Kelce staying, weeks removed from him standing at an altar in Manhattan. Then there's Mahomes himself. When reports surfaced that Kelce had committed to another season instead of retirement, Mahomes reacted to the news, posting a photo of the two of them from the football field to his Instagram, captioning the image with a clock emoji and a bow and arrow emoji in reference to the Chiefs and Arrowhead Stadium. His wife Brittany didn't stay quiet either. Brittany Mahomes reshared her husband's post to her own Instagram stories, along with a video confirming Travis would be back for his 14th season, writing he's not done yet. And then there's the mother of the groom, Donna Kelce, who has become almost as recognizable as her sons over the past few years, was asked directly about the retirement speculation swirling around her son. She didn't push him one way or the other. She told the outlet, "I just want him to do what he feels comfortable doing," adding, "He's got to talk to people in his life to decide what he wants to do." Coming from the woman who has watched every single one of his 13 seasons up close, that's a meaningful piece of the puzzle. So within days of Kelce becoming a married man, you've got the team owner publicly campaigning for his return, the owner's wife hyping it up online, the franchise quarterback and his wife celebrating it, and Kelce's own mother staying diplomatically supportive. That's not a normal news cycle for a guy who was supposedly the third or fourth option in speculation about who might walk away this offseason. But to understand why Hunt's words landed the way they did and why the timing mattered so much, you have to go back to the wedding itself, because what happened at Madison Square Garden set the stage for everything that came after. Social media didn't sit quietly on any of this either. Fans jumped into the replies under every article covering Hunt's comments, and the range of reactions told its own story. One fan wrote, "All the teams on KC's schedule are hoping he comes back, LOL." Another wasn't so sure Kelce still had it, asking, "But can he play well? Is he the best Kansas City can get?" Others leaned into the business side of things, with one person writing, "Can still play, sell merch and draw a crowd. That's our 87. Not everyone was thrilled though. Some fans accused Kelce of chasing relevance, with one comment claiming he's developing an ego size comparable to other stars, and wants to come back to avoid looking like a loser, while keeping the Taylor Swift effect going for Kansas City. That's the temperature of the room right after Hunt spoke. Excitement, skepticism, and everything in between, all wrapped around one central figure who had just walked down the aisle. Before you can understand why an NFL owner was talking about a wedding on live television, you need to understand the scale of the wedding itself, because this wasn't a quiet ceremony that slipped under the radar. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift got married on a Friday night in New York City, and the pair tied the knot at Madison Square Garden on July 3, 2026. The venue choice wasn't random. Swift has a deep history with the arena, and when a venue carries that kind of story, it adds emotional weight that decoration alone can't replicate. For a couple who could have picked literally anywhere on earth, choosing the building where Swift built so much of her career said something about how they wanted to start their marriage. The lead up to the big night had fans losing their minds outside the arena for hours. Swifties stood outside MSG for hours amid rising temperatures, as black SUVs with tinted windows carrying guests made their way into the curtained-off arena. Nothing about the inside of the building was visible from the street, but that didn't stop the crowd from watching every vehicle roll through. When the ceremony wrapped, the arena let everyone know in the most on-brand way possible. As the night went on, tired fans suddenly saw pink lights flash. "Just married," signs surrounding Madison Square Garden read. Even the weather cooperated for the moment, almost too perfectly. A news release confirming the nuptials was sent out as rain started pouring, and a sense of calm enveloped the area. The guest list reads like an awards show seating chart. Stars spotted arriving at MSG included Ethan Hawke, Gwen Stefani, Benson Boone, Jason Sudeikis, Jimmy Fallon, J-Lo, Ed Sheeran, Abby Wambach, Cooper Kupp, Roger Goodell, Joe Buck, and Jenny Han. By the time the night wound down, cameras caught a parade of famous faces leaving the building. Stars from the NFL world were spotted leaving as well, including 7-time Super Bowl winner Tom Brady and Andy Reid, Kelce's head coach with the Kansas City Chiefs. That's right, Reid himself made the trip, coat and all, to watch his tight end get married. The officiant was somebody the couple had known for years. To officiate their wedding, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce pulled in comedian and actor Adam Sandler, a longtime friend who has previously gushed over the pair's relationship. Sandler had talked about the couple publicly before, once telling Kelce's own podcast how thrilled his Swift-loving family was. When the relationship first became public, the wedding party itself skipped tradition. Swift and Kelce opted to forego traditional bridesmaids or groomsmen. Instead, Austin Swift, her brother, and Jason Kelce, his brother, served as man of honor and best man, and stood alongside the couple at the altar. Jason Kelce, Travis's older brother, a Chiefs legend in his own way through their shared podcast, standing at the altar for his little brother's wedding to the biggest music star alive, is the kind of image that will follow both of them for the rest of their careers. And this wasn't a small gathering pretending to be intimate. The guest list numbered around 1,000 people at Madison Square Garden. Permit filings described an event with 500 to 999 attendees, though reports suggested the reception guest list could reach approximately 1,000 people. That's not a backyard ceremony. That's closer to a small stadium concert dressed up as a wedding reception. Beyond the celebrity spectacle, the couple made a point of giving back during the week of the wedding. A representative for the couple confirmed that they donated a staggering amount of money to more than 20 organizations across the nation, with donations focused heavily on feeding communities, youth education, music programs, children's hospitals, and animal welfare. Once the ceremony ended, the Chiefs organization wasted no time putting out a statement of its own. After the couple officially tied the knot, the Hunt family released a statement online. The message was warm and direct. The family said, "We are overjoyed for them and wish them every blessing as they begin forever together. Love stories are always special, but the ones built on friendship, joy, resilience, and shared purpose are the ones that truly last." They closed it out with a line straight from the heart of an organization that has watched this romance unfold from the sidelines for years. "We are so happy for Taylor and Travis and are praying this next chapter is even more beautiful than they could imagine," the family said. Gracie Hunt, Clark Hunt's daughter, has been one of the loudest cheerleaders for this couple from the very beginning, and she showed up to the wedding herself. She's talked before about what watching this relationship has meant to her personally and to the sport. "I think we're all so excited to see two such phenomenal people happy," she said, adding, "It's so easy for us to cheer for and for the entire world to cheer for because they're wonderful for each other." She's also pointed out something bigger than just the romance, the ripple effect on the sport itself. She noted how many young fans, especially female fans, are now watching football and even considering playing flag football because of this love story. So by the time Clark Hunt sat down for that TV interview, this wasn't some abstract question about a player's personal life. His own family had been in the room. His own daughter had worn a dress. People were still talking about days later. The wedding wasn't background noise to the Chiefs organization. They were part of it, which makes Hunt's football comments hit that much harder because he wasn't speaking as an outsider, guessing at Kelce's mindset. He was speaking as someone who had just watched the man get married and still wanted him back on the field. That question, whether Kelce would actually come back, didn't get answered on the spot. It took months, a contract negotiation, and a fair amount of public back and forth before the picture became clear. Here's the thing about Hunt's comments. They came before anyone knew what Kelce would actually decide. His words were an invitation, not a confirmation. And for weeks after that interview, nobody outside Kelce's inner circle knew which way he was going to go. The stakes were real. Kelce got engaged to Taylor Swift the previous summer, and the two were planning to wed in 2026. His contract with the Chiefs officially expired at the end of that season, meaning he was technically set to hit free agency in March, which would have allowed him to sign with any team, and Kansas City had no contractual obligation to bring him back. Free agency, a wedding, a body that had taken 13 seasons of punishment. Any one of those on its own is a reason to walk away. All three stacked together made the retirement chatter louder than it had been in years. The numbers weren't hiding the decline either. Over 17 starts that season, Kelce recorded 76 catches for 851 yards and 5 touchdowns, his lowest reception total since his second year in the league. For a guy who spent years as the most reliable target in football, that stat line was the kind of thing analysts pointed to when they argued his best days were behind him. Fantasy analysts didn't sugarcoat it either, noting that Kelce had fallen to a secondary option in the Kansas City passing attack, especially when Rashee Rice was available and healthy. But here's what kept pulling him back toward football. Kelce had a personal connection to the incoming coaching staff. Kansas City brought back offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, a coach Kelce had spent a decade with before Bieniemy left for Washington. Kelce said on his New Heights podcast he's anxious to work again with Bieniemy, who he spent a decade with, calling him one of my favorite coaches of all time, one of my favorite people of all time. When a player talks about a coordinator like that in the middle of a retirement debate, it tells you where his heart is leaning. Kelce had also laid out his own thinking earlier in the year about how he wanted the decision to go down. He wasn't interested in dragging it out just for the sake of drama. He explained that after watching his brother go through a similar situation and understanding how the league restarts in April, he wanted to give the Chiefs a good opportunity whether he came back or not, and vice versa whether they wanted him back or not. Meanwhile, his mother stayed in the headlines for an entirely different reason: the wedding secrecy. Reporters kept trying to get details out of Donna Kelce, and she wasn't budging. Asked whether she'd been made to sign a non-disclosure agreement about the wedding, she smiled and said, "They know I can keep a secret." The couple, who got engaged the previous August, had kept wedding details tightly under wraps. Then in March, the answer finally came. Kelce's commitment put an end to the speculation as he committed to suit up for the Chiefs again. Reports indicated the tight end had decided to return for one final campaign. The financial terms told their own story about where Kelce's priorities sat. According to Spotrac, his new deal ran for a year and would pay him $12 million, about a $5 million drop from his previous contract, with no clarification on guaranteed money. A $5 million pay cut to keep playing for the only franchise he's ever known. Right after marrying the wealthiest musician on the planet, money clearly wasn't driving this decision. And it's not like there wasn't a bigger payday waiting for him elsewhere. While Kelce took a pay cut for a return with the Chiefs, he reportedly declined a lucrative post-retirement opportunity to play his 14th NFL season instead. He had quietly positioned himself as a natural fit for the broadcast booth. And according to Andrew Marchand of The Athletic, he could have earned around $15 million per year as a studio presence. Kelce has been open about wanting that career eventually. "I want to broadcast when I'm done playing. I want to be the talking head that calls the games," he said on his podcast back in 2024. He just decided that time hadn't come yet. His legacy numbers made the choice to keep playing even more understandable. He entered the season with 13,002 career receiving yards and 82 touchdowns, making him the third most prolific tight end in NFL history, sitting about 44 yards from passing Jason Witten for second place. Walking away with unfinished business like that, on the heels of a losing season, isn't the ending most competitors choose voluntarily. Once the news of his return broke, the celebration inside the organization was immediate and personal, which brings us right back to where this story started. Tavia Hunt's Instagram post, Mahomes and his wife lighting up social media, and Clark Hunt's earlier prediction, looking less like hope and more like inside knowledge. But all of this, the contract, the pay cut, the emotional pull toward Bieniemy, only tells half the story of why this decision carried so much weight. To understand the real pressure Kelce was walking back into, you have to look at what kind of team he was actually returning to. This is the part of the story that makes Hunt's public endorsement so much more loaded than it first appears. Because the team Travis Kelce came back to wasn't the dynasty he spent over a decade building. It was a team coming off arguably its worst season in years. Kansas City finished the previous season 6-11, missing the playoffs for the first time since 2014. For a franchise that had become the model of consistency in the NFL, a losing record like that was jarring on its own. But the bigger blow came in December, when the team's entire season fell apart in the span of a few weeks. Patrick Mahomes suffered a torn ACL and torn LCL in his knee during a December game. Even before that injury, Kansas City was already on the brink, heading toward a losing record when the quarterback went down. Losing your franchise quarterback to a major knee injury in the middle of a disappointing season is about as bad as it gets for an organization used to Super Bowl runs. The breakdown wasn't limited to one position either. A blunt team assessment laid it out without any sugarcoating. Xavier Worthy wasn't producing like a true difference maker. Rashee Rice had hiccuped through multiple seasons. Kelce had gotten older. The run game leaned almost entirely on one back. The offensive line had been banged up, and the defense lacked a pass rush pairing that left the back end exposed. That's not a list of small fixes. That's a roster in need of an overhaul. Reid himself didn't pretend the Mahomes injury was a minor bump. He talked about the mental approach his quarterback would need heading into recovery. He'll attack it just like he does everything else. Reid said of Mahomes' upcoming rehab, noting other good quarterbacks had come back well from the same injury, and that Mahomes had good people to help him through it. Public optimism, sure, but optimism born out of necessity, because there wasn't another option. There was real speculation that Reid himself might step away given everything piling up. His age, Mahomes' season-ending injury, and the uncertainty around Kelce's future all fueled speculation that Reid could step away as soon as 2026. But that speculation didn't hold. Despite all those factors, including the playoff miss, it appeared Reid wanted to keep coaching, according to an NFL Network report. People close to Reid said he had given no indications he'd walk away at age 67. So the picture heading into Kelce's decision looked like this: a franchise quarterback rehabbing a major injury, a head coach fighting off retirement rumors of his own, a defense with obvious holes, and a locker room trying to figure out its identity after over a decade of dominance. That's the roster Hunt was publicly begging Kelce to return to. Not a contender coasting to another ring, a team that genuinely needed veteran leadership to hold things together during a rebuild. That context changes how you read Hunt's comments from earlier in this story. When he said there was no doubt in his mind Kelce could still play, he wasn't just flattering a future Hall of Famer on his way out the door. He was trying to keep one of his only remaining sources of stability in the building during the most uncertain offseason the franchise had faced in years. It also explains why the front office moved fast on coaching changes once the dust settled. Reid and the Chiefs entered the year facing one of their most complex offseasons in recent memory, navigating Mahomes' recovery, the possibility of Kelce stepping away, and a roster that could look different on both sides of the ball. Bringing back Bieniemy wasn't just about nostalgia. Reid explained the decision came down to trusting a coach he'd already won with. "I think he's a great fit. He was a great fit when he was here. He'll be a great fit now that he's back," Reid said, adding he's had success bringing guys back into the fold, and that everyone in the organization is fired up to replace one great coach with another. Even the smaller roster moves reflected a team trying to rebuild depth quietly, while its two biggest stars dealt with much bigger questions. The Chiefs signed wide receiver Jason Brownlee to a reserve future deal for the season. Not a headline move, but exactly the kind of quiet roster-building teams do, when they know their margin for error just shrank. And then there was the money question hanging over everything. Kansas City agreed to a contract extension with Mahomes, the largest in NFL history at the time, adding years onto his deal. Analysts pointed out what that meant for the roster around him going forward. The fact that the Chiefs were adding new money beginning in future years made it clear the money wasn't there for another big long-term deal for one of the league's all-time great tight ends. Kelce's one-year prove-it deal wasn't just about respecting his wedding schedule. It was also about a franchise carefully managing its books around its real long-term investment. This is the environment Travis Kelce chose to walk back into after marrying Taylor Swift in front of 1,000 guests at Madison Square Garden. Not a coronation lap, a rebuild with real stakes, real injuries, and real questions about whether the good times were actually over. So where does all of this leave Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, and the Chiefs, heading into the season everybody's been waiting on? The picture that's forming is one of a team trying to squeeze one more competitive run out of a core that built a dynasty while quietly preparing for what comes after it. The most pressing question is whether Mahomes will be ready to return on time after his knee injury, with the quarterback expected to be available from the start of the season. Reports throughout the spring stayed consistently upbeat. Report after report said Mahomes was well ahead of schedule and confident he'd suit up for Week 1. Reid backed that up publicly, telling reporters the rehab was going well, with the goal of no restrictions once the season kicked off. But there's a difference between a quarterback who's cleared to play and a quarterback who's actually back to his old self, and that difference is going to shape everything about how the Kelce comeback story gets remembered. There's a real difference between a quarterback who is able to play and one who is fully back from a major medical setback, and where Mahomes falls on that spectrum will impact every relevant Kansas City player. If Mahomes comes back diminished, all the pressure on an aging Kelce to produce gets heavier. If Mahomes looks like himself, Kelce gets to play out his final chapter, with the best version of his quarterback throwing him the ball one more time. The roster around them is still very much a question mark beyond that. The bigger question for the franchise is what they intend to do about a long-term replacement at tight end, depending on how future cap space looks. And if there isn't room for an outside replacement, the team may have to lean on developing a younger option internally. That's the blunt truth sitting underneath all the celebration of Kelce's return. This is very likely his last run, and the organization is already quietly planning for the day after he's gone. For Kelce personally, the calculus looks different than it did a year ago. He's not walking into this season chasing a contract or trying to prove a point to a new team. He took a pay cut. He turned down a broadcasting payday that could have paid him nearly as much to sit in a studio instead of taking hits on Sundays. He chose one more year of football in the city where he built his entire career, married to the most famous woman in music, working again with a coordinator he considers family. That's not the profile of a guy chasing relevance. That's a guy trying to finish something on his own terms. Reid, for his part, has made clear this isn't a team looking backward. There will be plenty of questions on offense heading into the season, from who steps in during the interim to Kelce's role, to how the operation gets revamped with Bieniemy back in the building. Every one of those questions ties back to the same central figure, the tight end who almost didn't come back at all. And Clark Hunt's comments look a little different in hindsight now too. What sounded in January like an owner simply being polite about a player's personal timeline reads, months later, like a man who genuinely understood what his franchise needed, and said so publicly, wedding season or not. He didn't wait for the marriage to settle down before making his priorities clear. He said it before. Kelce even walked down the aisle, and he kept saying it after, that the Chiefs wanted their tight end back, that his production hadn't fallen off a cliff, and that respect for Kelce's personal life didn't mean the organization was ready to move on from him. As for the marriage itself, Kelce and Swift head into this season as a genuinely new kind of couple in professional sports. A wife whose tour and career operate on a scale most athletes never touch, and a husband about to spend his fall trying to help a wounded franchise find its footing again. Fans should expect to see Swift at plenty of Chiefs games this fall. Make no mistake about it, with the ripple effect of their relationship continuing to draw new attention to the sport. Whatever happens on the field this season, one thing is already settled. The wedding didn't end Travis Kelce's football story the way a lot of people assumed it would. Instead, it became the backdrop for one of the more unexpected chapters of his career. A pay cut, a rebuilding roster, an owner publicly staking his claim on one more year, and a tight end deciding that his last stand was worth more to him than any studio contract or quiet retirement. Whether it ends in one more championship run or a quiet final season, Kelce chose to write the ending himself on his terms, with his coach, his coordinator, and his teammates by his side. and his new wife watching from the stands. Chiefs owner Clark Hunt announces decision on Travis Kelce. Chiefs owner Clark Hunt has seemingly made Travis Kelce decision amid uncertainty. Chiefs owner's daughter had fans in awe of dress at Taylor Swift Travis Kelce wedding. NFL World reacts to Travis Kelce announcement. Chiefs owner's daughter had fans in awe of dress at Taylor Swift Travis Kelce wedding. AOL, USA Today Sports. Chiefs owner Clark Hunt has no doubt Travis Kelce can still play. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are married, plus wedding details. The Knot. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce wedding. Everything we know about their July 2026 celebration. Taylor Swift's wedding photos with Travis Kelce leak. CNN live coverage. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce tie the knot. Chiefs owner Clark Hunt on Travis Kelce's pending retirement decision. CBS Sports. Donna Kelce speaks out on Travis Kelce making big NFL retirement decision. Kansas City Chiefs Clark Hunt breaks silence on Travis Kelce retirement rumors. Clark Hunt's wife sends two-word message on Travis Kelce rejecting top dollar for Chiefs return. Travis Kelce reportedly made the decision on whether or not he'll retire. Clark Hunt: "There's no doubt in my mind Travis Kelce can still play." NBC Sports. NFL World reacts as Chiefs announce Travis Kelce decision. Andy Reid signals return in 2026 as Chiefs navigate Patrick Mahomes' injury. Travis Kelce's future. Fox News. Patrick Mahomes reacts to Travis Kelce's return to Kansas City Chiefs. 2026 Kansas City Chiefs fantasy preview. NBC Sports. Andy Reid addresses Patrick Mahomes' rehab and talks with Travis Kelce about 2026 season. NFL.com. Chiefs Andy Reid fired up about change coming to KC in 2026. NFL.com. These four Chiefs won't be back next season after Patrick Mahomes' new contract. Chiefs aftermath. What does Week 15 disaster mean for Patrick Mahomes? Travis Kelce, KC in 2026. NFL.com. Andy Reid makes key move for Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce and Chiefs in 2026. Bolavip. Andy Reid's Chiefs reunite Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce with underutilized teammate in 2026. Bolavip. Andy Reid confirms why longtime coach decided to part ways with Chiefs.